Welcome back to Hotties. Today we are talking about queerness
Yeah.
and all of the gay things.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride!
Hottie,
Hotties.
Yeah, welcome to the Hottie podcast.
Here we are. I'm McKenna,
And I'm Brie.
and today we're going to be doing a podcast all about our queerness.
Our queerness.
I'm so excited. We've been waiting a while for this one. We were going to interview my sister when she was in town because she's also queer, and it just didn't happen because of scheduling things. And so it's kind of perfect that it's falling on this month because it's Pride Month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wanted to get started. Any updates this week?
I went to a queer volleyball group.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so
Bump
cute.
set dyke.
Yeah, bump set dyke. It was really fun. There was like 20 plus people there, and I don't really know what I'm doing with volleyball. I just played like casually in college, but so like I generally kind of know the idea, but they were really nice and kind of led me through like the rotations as we were playing and all that, and I slowly got back to where I could hit the ball somewhat accurately. So it was a lot of fun. I just love being around other queer people. Like they played a bunch of like I don't know, queer kind of themed music in the background.
Oh,
Everybody was got
chapel.
like dancing in the middle of things.
Love that.
People would be in their like set position where they were bent forward, like they're, the hands on the knees, kind of like ready to hit position.
Yes.
And then a song would come on and they'd like start like twerking.
I love it.
It was really fun.
Iconic.
Anyway, I think I'll probably end up going back because I wanted something to do that was like a social thing.
Yeah.
But because I have ADHD, I do this thing where I'm like, I want to try this and I want to try this and I want to try this. And then I never go back for like a second time to anything because I can't commit to one. It's really hard to make friends when you can't commit to one thing and you just make an acquaintance and then leave.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm hoping this will be a little longer term.
Yeah. Well, I feel like too, if it's in the summertime, you can almost just set a goal for yourself of like, I just want to stay here for just the summer and then we'll see where it goes. But
yeah. And it's not like a competitive league or anything, so I don't have to like commit to doing every week or something.
Totally. Those are the best ways to commit to things. Like not high stakes.
Yeah.
You're the only person it's impacting consequence-wise.
Yep.
No, I completely relate to the ADHD component of not committing to hobbies or just like, I don't know, like I did a class on ceramics and did a month of it and fell in love with the art and the way of doing it. And I bought a pass to go back and I just haven't yet. And I have 10 classes and I think I'm going to do it with a friend this summer, which I think will help get me to the studio. But it's like 20 minutes away. So it's not like close by. The drive itself, I think, is what
I just got rid of my gym membership because it's 15 minutes without traffic, but there's almost always traffic and there's like an hour worth of driving round trip. And I can't convince myself that that's worth it.
I would feel the same way about the gym. Pottery, I can get a little bit more behind, but I say that and then it hasn't happened. So, but yeah, I miss it, which is weird because I've only done it for a month and I've taken about a month off. So, yeah, I'm hoping to do more of that this summer, but I was thinking about how I'm like I took a sewing class the other night and I got rollerblades. I just got rollerblades. Brie got them for me.
Yeah, found them at Marketplace deal.
Love that. But it's such a part of ADHD culture, I guess is what I want to say, of like, doing things for the hell of it and maybe they stick, maybe they don't. But
sounds like ceramic might stick.
Maybe it will. I think it will. It's such a cool art.
You brought a new type of ball today.
I did. It's a Neato. So
another version of them,
it's a brand new version. It's called a gumdrop.
A gumdrop.
And
it's got like cool
like gumdrop buttons.
Like,
ooh,
this is really hard.
It does. I really like it in the way you poke it and it feels like the liquid's going in. I don't know.
Fun.
I like it. I got it at New Seasons yesterday.
Oh, nice. Impulse buy?
Well, kind of. But more of I have never seen Neatos in the wild. Like I've just seen ordering them online. And so last time I went to New Seasons, I saw that they are selling them there and they're so expensive. which I hate. So I didn't buy one last time, and then last night I was going through and I was like, I need a new fidget. Oh, I need a
Mhm.
Neato.
Yeah.
So I got a Neato.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I got a bunch of these other ones, like the generic ones, and
Mhm.
I don't like
The
them as
squish is not the
much.
same.
It's not the same.
These ones, yeah, these are just regular ones. They like
Yeah.
squish out, but they don't like have the same like squishy rolling properties.
They don't, and I ordered a ton for my students and then just had like two extra.
Nice. Yeah.
Oopsies. So I have had that in my bag and it's just not as satisfying. So hopefully
Yeah.
this will stick for a while. So yeah, today with queerness, I just had a couple of ideas, but really I found this book
I was
in
gonna say, you
my
know, that even
place.
existed.
Yeah. And I was like, I should probably share this with the podcast. So I picked this up at Citizen Ruth in Portland, Oregon, and they are a great queer shop to support. But it's called Queerly Autistic, the ultimate guide to LGBTQIA plus teens on the spectrum. So it's geared towards teens. However, there's a lot of great information in here and it's presented in a very succinct way. So I thought that we could talk a little bit about like the definition of queer and then also talk about the intersectionality between queerness and neurodivergence because it's pretty high.
Yeah.
And then you all get a treat today. You get to hear our coming out stories
Yeah.
and our little gay stories. So I guess we'll start off with, would you rather start with the definition of queerness or talking about the double rainbow?
I'm intrigued by the double rainbow, but I think we need the definition to set us on a good footing to start from.
Great, great, great. So I'm just going to read a little bit because I feel like the book says it best. And before we get started, do you identify as queer?
Yes, I used to be very solid in identifying as pan.
Yep.
But in the last 2 to 3 years, I've gone into the I don't know, am I still into men? Am I not? Am I kind of? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm kind of just broadly saying queer,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't really have a solid label anymore.
Yeah. Which I think goes with the whole concept of how it's fluid and there's not like set ways of being. I think that we all evolve in our own ways.
Yeah.
I identify as queer and have a similar story where I used to identify as bi and then went into lesbian for like a teeny bit and then very much feel more defined than ever in queerness.
Mm.
It's interesting. We can get all into all the definitions too if we want to. There's a lot. The alphabet mafia.
Yeah.
Okay. So, queer as an identity is different from other identities. This is because while some people identify only as queer, many different people, including gay people, bi people, trans people, and asexual people, may identify as queer alongside their other identities. So, I guess it's not exclusive. Queer originally meant odd or strange. The groundbreaking gay TV show Queer as Folk got its name from the phrase, there's not so queer as folk, which means like there's nothing as odd or as strange as people. Over 100 years ago, it began to be used to describe people with non-heterosexual attraction and relationships, and in the 1980s, it gained widespread use as an identity. It is also widely used in activism and by academics. Queer is often used by people who don't identify as straight or gay. It's also often used by people who don't feel like they fit into the rigid gender binary, which is the idea that there's only two genders, male and female. Many people feel that it is the most inclusive umbrella term for anyone who is not straight and not cisgender. Since there are people who disagree due to its widespread historic use as a derogatory term against LGBTQIA people. Others then argue that all of our commonly used identities were originally slurs that have been reclaimed by the community. So there is a continuing debate around the word queer. Some people feel empowered by it, other people feel insulted by it. But don't let this affect your own identity. If you identify with queer, then do not be afraid to use that term. If someone asks you to not refer to them as queer, then respect it. Some famous people that are queer are Elliot Page,
Mhm.
Janelle Monáe, and Jamila Jamil. So when I think of queerness, I think of being, different from heterosexual. But I think that there is like a weight that comes with queerness too, in
Mm.
terms of like following in the footsteps of queer people and being really tapped into queer history and kind of where people have been, how we came to be. Does
Yeah,
any of that resonate with you at all?
yeah, that's a cool take on it.
Yeah.
I think also it's like part of the thing that ties us all together, like almost
Hmm.
like we were talking about last time of all the different neurodiversities, like how are we tied together and
Hmm.
like can have empathy with each other's experience. It's kind of the same way of like, does our queerness bring us together as groups?
Hmm.
Like, there's gay history, there's lesbian history, like there's everything, but we're all brought together by that similar experience of
Hmm.
queer history, what's happened
Yeah.
to us as a group, and yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I think too, which we'll get into in just a minute,
Mhm.
is that queerness is by definition is othering. And I think a lot of people feel solid in that identity too with their neurodivergence. There is a very high correlation between queer and neurodiverse people. I don't have the exact number, but it's pretty high, especially transness and autism.
Yeah, gender nonconformity.
With the double rainbow. And I actually hadn't heard of this term before reading this book, but double rainbow is the concept of like the gay rainbow or the queer rainbow, and then spectrum as a rainbow too. So
Mm.
neurodivergent spectrum or autism spectrum. So yeah, double rainbow in the sky.
Yes. So the book was just talking about it as being like that we're together, like there's the queer and the autistic rainbow or the neurodiverse rainbow
Yeah.
together.
And how people will identify as being under the double rainbow, which I just have never heard about before.
Start
And
spreading it.
yeah.
Everybody start spreading it.
That was all I had for this book.
Well, I think like you said, it's geared towards teens, but a lot of us that didn't get early education, like that's why I feel like you could gain a lot from it still as an
Mhm.
adult, is because we didn't get this in our teen time frame usually.
Totally. One
Mhm.
of the people that is heavily referenced in this book is actually Hannah Gadsby. Have you heard
Mm.
of them?
I don't think so.
So they're a queer autistic comedian,
Oh, okay.
and
The
they,
name's familiar. Yep.
yeah, and they
Mhm.
have, I said Hannah Gadsby, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did I say their name wrong? Um, They have several Netflix specials, and they
Mhm.
are just hilarious and raw and beautiful, so highly recommend checking them out. But one of my favorite quotes ever, and that I have heavily related to, is from Hannah.
Mhm.
And they said, "My diagnosis felt like being handed the key to the city of me,"
Mm.
which I think really ties back into what we have talked about with our diagnosis stories, kind of figuring out who we are. But like, I think we kind of always come back to diagnosis as being, yes, we pursued it because it gave us so much information about ourselves and like a place to move forward from.
Yeah.
Because I feel like before I was diagnosed, I just didn't know a lot about me, but like didn't know what I was missing.
Yeah.
I just knew that I didn't fit in and didn't really know myself, whatnot. So it's just kind of cool to think of it
Yeah.
as a key and it unlocks this,
Unlocking a section of you. Yeah.
yeah, of all of those interoception skills and whatnot, which I feel the same way about being gay.
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell your coming out story first? Do you want me to go first?
Okay, yeah. So I didn't really have like a time that I like knew necessarily. Like I think that it's always kind of been there, but I definitely was one of those like annoying autistic kids that was always, well, why? Why do we do that? Why is it like that? Why are the norms like that? Like,
Inquisitive.
yeah, like, oh, you don't date girls? Why wouldn't you? Like, why do I have to follow whatever the norm is? Like, so I definitely had a lot of that pushback on like societal expectation. Um, and I had my first girlfriend in high school,
Ooh.
and I didn't tell my parents. I had her over my house sometimes.
Hell
Um,
yeah, you did.
yeah. And then I told my mom when I was 18 when I went to college. So sometimes that separation finally gives you the courage to
Yeah.
tell your parents things.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure I told her over like message. I don't think I actually like
Like
talked to
texted her,
her. I think so.
"Hey
I think
mom."
it was like Facebook Messenger or something. I don't remember. Yeah, and then basically her response was, "Yeah, I knew exactly who you brought to that. I knew that was your girlfriend."
That's really cute.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And she was like, I don't know, she was decently accepting, but then she would also, I don't know, had a lot of bad habits of one time we were watching like a nature documentary talking about dolphins and how dolphins can have queer relationships. And she was like, it's just not natural. Like, I just don't see how it could be natural. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
That's
thanks for the
problematic.
digs. Yep. You're accepting, but you're kind of not, but you kind of are. But since then, I mean, she hasn't now she doesn't make any like kind of comments like that. And she's been very
Yeah,
accepting. And like
good.
I had a partner who transitioned and she actually did incredibly well with that and like transitioned how she talks to them. And I don't
Yeah,
think she almost ever messed up pronouns or anything. And so
awesome.
that was really beautiful. And
Yeah.
um I don't think she's necessarily like, woohoo, she is, but she's also like, okay, this is fine. Like, I'm accepting of whoever comes into her life.
She's not the mom of the gay kids that like have all rainbows and like the rainbow house and
I don't think she's been to a pride or anything with me, but
yeah.
yeah, she's definitely accepting and yeah, not
Good.
judgmental of people now. So
Good. I'm glad that you have
and she's
that.
not a Trumper, so I'm happy.
Blessings.
Blessings.
Gosh,
Yeah, so
can't
that was kind of
imagine.
my only family that I really had to come out to.
Yeah.
My dad passed when I was 18, so I didn't come out to
Mhm.
him. Um, and then yeah, I didn't really have any other like family that I came out to. I guess it just kind of like spread around by social media because all
Yeah.
my family's far away.
The hot gossip.
The hot
Bree is
gossip, yeah.
gay.
I was not the first in my family though. I have a cousin who came before me, so I didn't get
Dang
to be the
it.
first one. And then early on, I didn't have any labels because I didn't really like have language for it at all.
Yeah.
But I just kind of like assumed bisexual because I dated
Yep.
both. And then when I discovered pansexuality, I really resonated with that. And I'll kind of give my own definitions of it because it is different person to person, kind of, especially with our like middle labels where it's kind of like vague. So like bisexual to me is a little bit more binary in that like you like boys, you like girls, like whatever mix of that is. I don't think it's like 50-50. Like a lot of people are like, it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be exact.
Right.
No. But for me, pansexual was more all-encompassing in that I felt like I could be attracted to any gender,
Hmm.
including agender, including transgender, like
Yeah.
anything could be kind of in that umbrella because I feel that I am attracted more to the person than necessarily the gender.
Yeah.
However, that has changed more over time. Um, and language warning. I don't know how I feel about penises anymore. I don't. I had a
Is that the
nightmare.
language warning? Penis?
Yeah. If you don't want to hear about penises, just skip it. No, I had a bad dream last night that somebody asked me to shave a patient's as if it was part of my physical therapy job, and I came in and said like, no, I won't because it's not part of my job, and I'm not doing that. So I have nightmares about balls, y'all. But
That is really funny. Oh my God.
so yeah, I don't really know where I'm at with like whether I'm attracted to men anymore or not.
Yeah.
And I had a common partner who's someone who lived in another state and like we had a good relationship and everything. And like one time I saw him and I just was like, I'm like not attracted to him at all. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to do anything. So I don't know if it was all compulsive heteronormativity that I'm
Yeah.
undoing or if things have really just fluctuated over time. Because we were talking about how, fluid things can be and they can change. And
Sure.
um so yeah, now I'm primarily attracted to women.
Yeah. Well, it
Mm,
is interesting too, like bringing, you know, gender, genitalia, sex all into it because I think that there's so much conversation and maybe even pressure to define yourself and who you are. And I think that it's okay to talk about your preferences and how preferences change and because like your sexual attraction matters. But I think that I have a lot of internalized critics saying like, well, why would you reject someone just based on their genitalia? And it's like,
mm,
but I'm not attracted to that. And Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Where it's just, or maybe you have in the past or whatever, and bringing in like gender. It's just,
Hmm.
it's an interesting conversation. I don't think one I'm ready to have, clearly.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk more about that one time. Similar to you, I have changed my identity quite a few times. And I do feel like there's a continuous theme of like what I'm not attracted to, which is cisgender men. So much a part of me being queer, I want to say. Yeah, it is interesting to talk about like preferences and whatnot, and to hear some people be so rigid in their definitions and others be so loosey-goosey. Like there's just, and that just goes to show how personalized
No.
identity is. And I think that there's a lot actually right now, a lot of rhetoric in social media of like JoJo, having been identified as lesbian and now she's dating a cisgender man and what
Hmm.
that all means, and a lot of lesbians being like, well, you can't be like that, and then JoJo just kind of saying like my sexuality has been fluid, and um either being celebrated for that or like brought down by that. What were you gonna
Yeah.
say?
I was just say a big part of that is the way that they did that. And
Totally.
that they also like rejected all of queer culture
Totally.
too. So like it's okay to like come out and date a man, date a woman, like back and forth.
Right.
Bisexuality, whatever it is,
Yeah.
back and forth is fine. But to like come out and then be like, I'm not part of the queer community anymore. I'm not,
Oh, I
gonna
didn't
set I'm
realize
not
that she
gonna
said that.
as long as she
Hmm.
said that is that she like got rid of all like rainbow related things, got rid of like
Oh,
changed everything to
interesting.
very like heteronormative on her socials and
Mm.
her like presentation of herself and of course the way that she did it with it being, cheating on her girlfriend on live TV,
Yeah,
basically like that was
totally.
the other like argument with her situation. But like it's one thing to like you stay someone else, but you're still part of the identity. You still like
Yeah,
can support other people that are.
right.
You can still like, have your rainbow flags and your I support and
Yeah,
go to events or whatever and like still celebrate your, in this case, people who support you.
right.
You can still celebrate them.
Yeah,
And it's different if you say all of a sudden like, nope, they're not part of that anymore.
yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And I think that there's something to be said about bi erasure. Like that's a huge thing where
Mm.
um people will say that you like try to be bi and then you're either straight or you're straight.
Yeah.
You're either gay or you're straight.
Right. Or they'll say like once you're in a relationship with a man, like, oh, so you're straight now.
Yeah,
And it's like,
exactly.
no,
No.
you're bi the whole time.
Yeah.
Pan the whole time,
Um,
like whatever.
exactly. So my definition of bi is actually different from yours,
Mm.
which is I love that we have differences and can talk about those nuances, but um my definition of bi for me when I identified as bi was liking my own gender and another gender.
Mm.
So that kind of those that two still binary like is still a binary definition. But yeah, what's really funny is that I didn't come out until I was 26. But I went to a pride event in San Francisco when I was 19 and I held up a sign that said I love everyone. Which is just funny because
Cute.
I feel like it was a good, I don't
So
know.
you had to do a little sign that said I love
Yeah, it was a
everyone.
little prequel to my gayness. I love everyone.
I was very privileged in college. I got to be
Yeah.
very out and like part of GLBTF was what it was. I think it was in
Oh.
my school. Gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, and friends was the like group until they changed all the acronyms around. So I got to be like part of those groups when I
That's
was in
really cool.
school and like that was part of my like having blue hair and like just being
Yeah.
out and like enjoying saying to people like, oh, my girlfriend and I like
Yeah.
which pinnacle gayness in in my like junior year of college. I was dating a girl who rode a sports bike, like a standard
Nice.
motorcycle. I think it was red too. And so we would just like roll up in our like helmets and do a like
Oh
classic
my
like
gosh. So cool, so gay.
so gay.
That's awesome. Yeah, I did it. I was so, I don't want to think of myself as closeted because it wasn't like I knew that I was gay and holding it inside.
Mm.
I was so unsure of myself for a very very long time. Like even thinking about how I had my first kiss, like that was just such a funny story where I was just like, I need to be kissed before I turn 18. So I literally like made my guy friend kiss me 3 days before I turned 18.
Oh my gosh.
And like, I really liked, I don't know, it's just so interesting to like go over the whole history and kind of think through it and think through now. I'm so confident in my
Hmm.
sexuality and in my gender presentation and how it really has been a very long
Hmm.
time to find that. And I think that part of that actually is the autism component of just like
Hmm.
not having a key to myself before last year.
Yeah.
But I know that I was in love with my best friend from high school.
Oh.
Like it's just kind of clear as day that what we had was more than a friendship.
Hmm.
And there were definitely signs here and there that we both liked each other.
Oh, not just
And
from your side
oh no, no, no.
either. Are you still in touch with this person today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of.
Have you guys ever talked about this? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a really full circle moment, and I
Mm.
think really speaks to like, again, how unsure I was of myself and how insecure I was in certain like thoughts and feelings I had, which probably could be internalized homophobia for sure.
Mm.
'Cause I mean, let's put it into context. This is when I was part of Christian lifestyle, Christian group, and
Yeah.
I don't ever remember being directly preached at of like gay people are sinners.
Hmm.
But I just wasn't around a lot of gay people at all.
Yeah.
Not until really I started coming out. Yeah, I went through my early 20s just not really dating anyone.
Mm.
Like I didn't want to. I didn't want to have sex. I didn't want to kiss people. I wanted a boyfriend really bad, but like never put myself out there to to have one. And it wasn't until I was kind of out of college for a few years and had a crush on one of my friends and was just like, oh, this is like, this is different and this is
Hmm.
deeper than like I've ever felt about any of the boys that I've been with. And I like had the thought, and then it took me a full year to like realize it was real. And that like, oh, maybe I am a little gay. And even like coming out to my mom, I remember telling her, I think it's just a phase.
Oh,
And her
your mom
being,
didn't say it, you said
oh,
it.
I said it full send. And she was like, yeah, so don't worry, gaslit myself.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then it was another full year that I was like, oh, mom, I actually am gay. And she was like, oh, I'm so happy for this journey for you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
My mom has always been really supportive. I remember she was the first person I came out to in my family out loud. And again, was just like, we love you for who you
Hmm.
are, and like, can't wait to watch this journey unfold.
Oh,
Um, my brother was like, cool.
cool. Okay.
My sister was like, me too.
Cute.
And the way I came out to my dad is like one of my favorite stories.
Mm.
Because he was the last person I came out to in my family. And I remember being scared to tell him and just kind of kept on putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And
Mm.
I don't know why, because he's always been supportive of me. But he had come for a weekend to visit me. And I remember like thinking before he got into town, I'm gonna tell him this weekend. I'm gonna tell him this weekend. And then we're literally on the way to the airport for him to leave. And
Oh,
I was like,
I didn't tell him.
God damn it, I have to say it now. And I was like, Dad, I think I like girls too. Not even
Not even fully out.
not
Just
even
like, eh.
fully out.
Just like,
And he was like, "Oh, okay." And then that was over, that
uh-huh.
conversation. A week later, he sent me a song, and it was about it was a man singing and how he loved someone in his life very much, and the pronouns were she, her, and
Mm.
he was like, "You could be singing this song next time." I forget what the song is now, but it was like building a life with a woman, and he
Aw.
was like, "This could be you next." It's like, "Are you singing it?" I forget his exact. way of saying it, but I remember being like, okay, this is his way of showing that like he loves me and
Mm.
accepts me for who I am. So, yeah, very sweet little story. And same with you. I didn't really come out to people in my other, like in my family. I just kind of let gossip happen. But it wasn't really until my partner that I dated, who was non-binary, and we had a very, like, it was my first queer relationship. And I
Mm.
think that's what really solidified, like, my gender identity, my sexuality. And I feel very comfortable with the word queer and just feel like it's all encompassing and also doesn't give that pressure of a label, which I've struggled with for so long.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's kind of my coming out story.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that I know that that probably wasn't like necessarily a happy choice to not date and like to not, go and kiss people or like whatever
Yeah.
in that time frame. But I also love that you were able to respect what you wanted in that
Oh,
time frame because I feel like I very much fell into peer pressure, into I wanted to fit in so badly
oh, I did
that
too.
I was like constant relationship,
Yeah.
like oh I have to date people and I have to like do what they want to do and I have
Yeah.
to like you know kiss and do other things and like I didn't
Right.
necessarily respect like what I actually wanted a lot of the time. And
Okay.
so I do think it's really cool that you had that time period where you were like, you know what, I don't want to, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah. I don't think it was that clear to me,
Yeah, no, that's
but
what
I
I'm
do
saying. I don't
appreciate
know that it was as strong of a choice of doing that, but you did kind of listen to yourself unintentionally.
unintentionally was
Yeah,
abstinent.
yeah.
Yeah.
But and then with that, I wonder now, since that part, the recent partnership and like going forward, like, do you feel the opposite of that, where you're like, now that I've unlocked this, I know like I do want to kiss people and I
Yeah.
do want to like date and I'll put myself out there and like, mm,
Yeah, no, it has been a 180 with how I even feel about
mm.
approaching dating of and I know just gonna be very honest and be like my dating experience has been really interesting this last I would say 6 months where I have gone back and forth with what I want, back and forth with dating and not dating. And I think that is honestly a lot of fear and a lot of like knowing what I deserve and like
Mm.
knowing what I want to pursue as post breakup. Like it's not really queerness. It's thought thinking that I was with the love of my life and then we broke up. Okay, so now what? Like now do I
Yeah.
want another monogamous relationship? Do I want to just kind of date around and figure out what I want? And I have a queer therapist who is ethically non-monogamous and who has really been like I would say the word pushing me to explore being with like multiple partners and trying out some kink stuff, which
Yeah.
it's
Instant
so
blush. Instant blush.
I know.
Love
Um,
it.
but I finally found a lot of I don't know if finally is the right word, but we just had a session where I was like, actually, I really want one partner for the rest
Mm,
of my life, and I really don't want to be with multiple partners. And I think that that is more in line with my values. And I think that because of my whole journey of just kind of like figuring out where the fuck I am, being honest the whole way through, but like I think I'm finally landing at a place with a lot of confidence in what I
mm.
want and also that clarity in what I want. So exactly what you brought up of like yeah, I used to not want to date and I used to be really scared of dating and I used to be really scared of being perceived. And
Yeah.
I wonder if that was through the male gaze. And now that I'm way more comfortable in my queerness, being non-binary, like I I am dating someone right now that I am really enjoying and I hope that it goes somewhere.
I think so. We're gonna be talking in a couple of weeks with
Yeah.
Brooke, who's
Yeah.
also I think she considers herself poly, but
Yeah.
ethically not monogamous along those lines. We're gonna be talking more about that in a couple of weeks. But
Yeah.
I think it's a cool thing of like similar to knowing that queerness is a
Yeah.
possibility where you can then choose what your option is.
Yeah.
Similarly, like knowing that ethical non-monogamy is on the table, but
Right.
then being able to choose, like,
Yes.
actually, I know myself now.
Yeah.
I have answered the question for myself instead of
Yeah.
just falling into it. Now I can say, like, oh, I have considered that,
Yep.
but this is for me.
Yep.
Like, that's awesome empowerment to be able to make the choices. And that builds your confidence because you've made a
Hmm.
choice that it feels true to you.
Absolutely. No, I think empowerment is the best word to use with it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's been
Yeah.
really fun. I love being gay.
Do you like going to Pride?
Well, I haven't been since I was 19 in San Francisco.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
hopefully I will join Pride in July. Well, and like I know that we've talked a lot because we've gone to queer line dancing quite a
Mhm.
bit, and I think that being involved in queer spaces is like the most affirming thing you can do, and
Yeah.
just being around people who look like you, have similar values as you
Yeah,
in
and celebrating that
non-sexual
loud.
ways. What were you saying?
Celebrating that out loud.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
in non-sexual ways too, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's just so important for our community, especially as we face a lot of fear, a lot of unknown and erasure,
Yeah.
left and right with trans people. So,
There's another great place to be surrounded by other mostly queer people.
my house. No.
The Ren Fair. You also want to feel really affirmed in your quirky,
Absolutely.
different life choices and all of those
Absolutely. Are you
things.
going to the Ren Fair?
Yeah, we're going one night, and we're
Fun.
going to one of the night market ones,
Cool.
hoping that it'll be like slightly less overstimulating than the sunny
Yeah.
daytime situation where you get hot and it's awful.
Good accommodating yourself. I love
Yeah,
that.
but it's like pirate themed, and then there's supposed to be like
Fun.
fire breathers and like horseback archery, and still like having a little market area and
Cute.
stuff. So that'll be really cool. I
That'll
found
be
a couple
fun.
outfits at the thrift store, so I'm
Love.
excited. I can either be a butterfly fairy or I could be a pirate also and go with like corset pirate look.
Ooh, what if you did like Pirate Fairy?
Pirate fairy.
Pirate Butterfly Fairy.
Unfortunately, the colors are so different that they would clash really badly, but
You could try. I could try. No, it's so true. Finding events that like I think like leaning into your weirdness and leaning into your queerness because that's who we are. I don't
Yeah.
know, at the very core, which I again with the intersectionality between autism and queerness, I mean, it's it's almost like when you start entering those spaces, for me, I found a lot of answers in myself for both of those things. Like, oh, I relate a lot to autistic people, or oh, I relate a lot to queer people.
Mhm.
Oh, maybe I'm one or the other. But it's just,
Yeah. And we have a lot of the same things like you talked about of like kind of bucking the norm and
yeah.
not feeling the need to like fit in the same societal pressure ways and
Yeah, and I
questioning why we do things that we do. And
exactly. And I think what you were saying about your journey being how like you were very intentional about not fitting the norm and knew that at a very young age. I am opposite, where I tried very hard to fit into the norm and always felt so different and
mm.
so sad about that difference. So it's just, it's cool that we have ended up in a similar spot, even with different backgrounds with
Yeah.
that. So,
Oh,
ah, I love
beautiful.
it. Anyway, that was all I had for today.
All right, cool. So
Yeah.
be unapologetically you this week
Find your joy.
and be gay. Do gay
Do
shit.
gay shit. Have gay sex. Thanks for joining us this week. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music.
Please like, subscribe, and leave us a review. We could use some of those. If you want to get pictures that go along with our episodes and follow along, join us on Instagram and TikTok.
Thanks,
Thanks, Hotties.
hotties.